know this car from somewhere. Would you look who's here? I knew I recognized that Lambo out there. So this is what you've been doing outside of the garage.
Yeah, well, this is my my day job, my whole lifetime job since I was like 12. Yeah, I do construction. So I moonlight as a YouTube guy and a car guy.
How long have you been doing it?
Well, let's see. I am, how old am I? I painted my first house when I was, believe it or not, 11 years old with some people in my church. And after that, summers and weekends was working for both my older brothers that were contractors. Got my contractor's license when I was 18, and I have been doing construction ever since. So here in Utah, this is in Sandy, Utah, they have these home shows that are on the weekend. They have 3 that they do a year, this particular group. And this is actually the only marketing that I actually pay for. So we do this booth for the weekend. My wife Linda and I, we hang out here and talk to people. I set up appointments to generate business for the company. I get to do all the appointments, set them all up, and then I run all the sales appointments myself while I'm running my jobs and trying to do everything because I'm a little contractor guy, so I wear lots of hats. I'm doing the marketing, the sales, the work, project managing, all the above. As much as I'd love to keep chatting here with you, we got more to do and dinner to go get. We're gonna actually pick this up back at the shop. I'm gonna take you around the cars, tell you a little bit more of history and kind of what we're all about. So we'll see you back there.
Perfect.
That's all we can fit. What more do you need, right?
Exactly.
So we are back from the home show. It was successful. That's one of the marketing, really it's the biggest marketing that I actually do and pay for my construction company. And I thought, we're a couple years into YouTube. Maybe I tell you just a little bit of background and a bit of my story so you kind of see a little bit of where I'm coming from, where I'm at now, what maybe some of my plans are for the future, and why I'm the guy in front of the camera. So I've got Trevor here. He's our guy that does all of our editing and filming. He's going to be asking me some questions, and we'll kind of go over a little bit of this and some of the cars and some of the stuff we've got going here with Road Garage. That's my hat. Straight and not all like I've had a couple where I filmed and something's all funky.
Alrighty. So first question, where were you born, where were you raised?
So I grew up out in a little podunk town in Northern California called Ione. It is basically about 45 miles southeast of Sacramento, and we were in the foothills. I grew up on a little property, and I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and all my older brothers and sisters were already gone, so I kind of grew up out there alone to my own devices, for good and for bad sometimes.
So were your siblings a big influence on you? How'd you exactly get into construction?
Yeah, actually. So I've got 2 brothers and 3 sisters. My brothers were both general contractors, but they were both considerably older than me. Matter of fact, only one of my brothers was even still at home when I was growing up. He was 13 years older than me, and then my other brother, I think like 17 years older than me. They were a lot older. So they were actually already gone out of the house, but they were both general contractors. And growing up as a kid, a lot of my summers and weekends was going and working for them, being their grunt, their gopher, whipping post, all of the above, that brothers do.
And did they have any influence on the cars at all, or what got you into all the car stuff?
So yeah, actually both my brothers, my oldest brother, he was into cars. He actually had a body shop at one point, and he had a number of Porsches, and I remember him having a couple Maseratis that he built. My other brother, John, had also had lots of cars. I remember one of the fond memories I had as a kid, he did all kind of goofy, stupid, crazy stuff. But as a kid, I remember telling him that I wanted to go drive in the farm truck like the Duke boys. Duke's a Hazard, you know, for those of you out there that are old enough. And we used to go out and drive like the Duke boys and go out into the field and do donuts and act a fool. It was pretty crazy, but good memories. But that definitely got me into cars. And then growing up, probably one of the bigger influences as far as cars go is my best friend all the way from second grade in elementary school all the way into high school. His dad was a retired Vietnam vet. Due to some injuries he got in the war, was basically at home, and his thing that he loved doing was building cars. And he actually built street rods, like show cars and all of that. So a lot of what these guys were into was the show car stuff, street rods, the lowered trucks, and then drag racing too. So being around all of that, it was always building stuff. They were doing custom crazy stuff, big horsepower, crazy paint jobs, lowered stuff. And in my era, it was, you know, the lowered mini trucks with 10,000 watt stereo systems and all of that I grew up in. So that was kind of my thing. I always kind of went more for the muscle car fast stuff, which if you can't tell, that's still kind of my thing, is at least the fast stuff and some muscle car things. But I always loved that, but then also making them look cool. So that's where a lot of my paint experience and all of that really started from, was being around all of that and seeing them do like crazy custom graphics and paint jobs, and that's where I picked a lot of that up.
The first company you started, was that a painting company or was that a general contracting company?
So initially, I had done lots of general stuff with like my brothers, you know, painting and framing, and I mean, they were kind of just doing whatever to stay busy. I actually had another person in my church that I started working for, and he was a roofing contractor. And I picked up on that pretty dang quick. And I remember, I think I had been working for him for about a month, maybe 2 months. And I think at the time I was making the most I had ever made hourly. And I think it was like $9 an hour, which was like pretty cool. I was feeling pretty good about that. He told me, he says, look, as soon as you can do this without me here so that I can go run my sales appointments, I'll pay you $13 an hour. And I'm like, holy smokes, $13 an hour? Are you kidding me? And a week later, I was like, all right, I'm good. Go run your appointments. I'm out of here. I want my $13 an hour. He was gone. I did my stuff. I was doing my job, and I was doing a good job. I was going fast. Within the next like 9-10 months, he actually helped me get my license. That's how I got my license and started my company at 18. I was working as a subcontractor with my license for him. So I was essentially my own company, but working as a subcontractor for him. And then I had like 2 or 3 other companies that I was also doing subcontract work for at the same time. So between those 3-4 companies, I would stay really busy. That like got the ball rolling with doing construction.
So I know when I first met you and I heard the story, I was very intrigued with how you were able to run a company at such a young age. So I'm curious, how was it running your own company at 18?
Well, there was a lot that, frankly, I probably didn't have any business doing this. I've been blessed, I guess, blessed and cursed with, I guess, the mindset of like, I can just do it and figure it out. And a lot of the beginning of me having my own company and even learning a lot of these different trades, because most of this stuff I have really zero formal training on how to do the different trades. I mean, and that goes for the cars and all of this stuff too. Like, other than like talking to people and trying to learn from what other people are doing, I've really kind of figured out the majority of this along the way. And for the most part, it's been a blessing. It's served me a lot more than it's hurt me. But there's definitely some pretty heavy growing pains in there too, taking on things that I kind of didn't have any idea what I was doing, but I really took that fake it till you make it to heart. So a lot of stuff starting out with business, sales, I mean, all of those things, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but you know, I was winging it, and I had more belief in myself and figuring it out and going, yeah, I'll figure it out, and you know, it'll be okay. And along the lines, you know, I did figure it out. Definitely got me in trouble at times, and you know, there was some definite struggles as well.
As an 18-year-old selling jobs to homeowners, did they have any sort of like skepticism, having someone young come in and do all the work?
Yeah, because I was a kid, and I looked like a kid, and I definitely would think now if I had somebody my age showing up at my door to sell me a new roof or whatever it was that I happen to be doing, I'd be like, how the heck did you know? Do you even know what you're doing? I really struggled with selling jobs because like I'm this kid out there doing my thing, and nobody would trust you. So I ended up hiring a guy that was in his mid-30s that would go out. I'd get the leads for him, and then he'd go and he'd run the appointment and sell the job. And when we were in neighborhoods doing jobs, he'd be out canvassing and knocking doors and selling these jobs, and I'd pay him a commission. But the funny thing with all of this is that he'd go and he'd sell the job, and you know, obviously we were licensed, we had all the stuff we were supposed to, so we were legit. And I'd talk to the homeowners. At that point, we already had a deposit. The first day that we'd show up, I had this whole thing that repeated. The homeowners like, oh, you know, that's great. You guys are here to get going and all of that. And I'd be like, yeah, you know, hi, it's nice to meet you. You know, I'm Dave Scharf, and they're like, oh, okay, cool. They're like, you know, so are you the owner's son? And I'm like, no, I'm Dave Scharf. I am the owner. And their face would usually go like white, you know, they're like, so did your dad get you into this? So like, is this your dad's company? I said, no, I started it myself, and you know, I've been doing it a while. And you could just see the dread in their face, like, oh my gosh, we've already given these guys money. They're already here working. Like, what did I just get myself into? Like, oh my gosh. And I'd be like, all right, well, it was nice to see you. We're gonna get up and get working. That was pretty funny. Obviously, I don't have that problem now. I sell jobs myself. I got the bald head and the gray hair to handle it now, but kind of interesting, a little different.
And you mentioned moving from Southern California. How long have you been in Utah? So I moved my family here in 2014. We were in Southern California for from 99 to 2014. So worked all over LA. Actually had a bigger, at one point, a bigger construction company out there until 2008 when the economy took a dump, and that was the first time in my whole working career that I lost everything. So that really was kind of a bummer. But yeah, so we were out there for until then, and then would have never thought moving out to Utah would have been a thing or a possibility, because I was never interested. We had family out here, but one day it changed, and I really wanted to live and be closer to family. I had my brother and some family out here as well, so we ended up moving out here and bringing the family out here. So what type of construction do you do now?
So now I do all just residential remodeling. So we do stuff as small as like kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, and then it starts scaling up to like full interior remodels, basement finishing, additions, generally all homeowner stuff. I do just a little bit of commercial, but most, like 95%, is remodel stuff. That's kind of our bread and butter.
And how big is the crew now?
It's very small. So out in LA, I found that the big company side of things, or trying to go big, was not where my strength was, and it was difficult for me to keep the quality and customer service and all of that under control. So what I learned from that is kind of my sweet spot for stress level, reward,
actual money that I can make in my pocket was to keep it small. You know, there's a saying, you know, keep it small, keep it all. And that's kind of what I live by. So when I had that bigger company, I saw how, like, you know, big overhead and all of that can just like absolutely kill you. So out here, I have my office in my house, and as far as full-time employees, I have my 2 adult boys that work for me. I've got my son Evan, which you've seen on some of the videos, as well as my son. He just turned 18 and graduated high school this last year, so he's been working now for me full-time as well. Those are my 2 full-time employees. And then I have subcontractors and that help me, you know, everything from cabinet companies to countertop guys, drywallers, and that I can pull in on jobs.
So with the family and the construction company, how do you find time to work on the cars?
A little here and a little there. If you were to see a day in the life of Dave Scharf, it would look like this. I get up at 6:30 in the morning, usually hitting my jobs at like 7, probably more like 8. During the day, I'm out working on jobs and running my jobs and doing all the stuff that's involved with that, intermixed with some of the car project stuff that I need to do. You know, for instance, today I was dropping off some seats for my McLaren. I just mix that in with my whole work schedule. But most evenings after dinner, I come out, and that's where you get to see a little glimpse of Dave Scharf for the 2-3 hours. Most evenings and most weekends, I am working on my cars or doing something with my cars.
So you talked a bit about your family. Tell me a little bit more about them.
So I have a bigger family. So I grew up in a family with 5 other brothers and sisters, so there were 6 of us. I did the same thing. So I have 6 kids that range all the way from 11 up to 25. And believe it or not, I'm a grandpa too. So I've got a 2-year-old little grandbaby boy. We've got a couple little videos that he's been in. He absolutely loves cars. He calls me Pop Pop, and that's pretty awesome. From what my daughter says, every time he sees or hears a loud car going by, he says, "Pop Pop, Pop Pop." Yeah, so I have 6 kids, and 3 boys, 3 girls. My 2 youngest are girls, and my middle 3 are all my boys. So you've probably seen Evan. He's my oldest. He actually works for me, like we talked about, full time. He's been working for me for actually quite a long time. Does awesome.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Look at that.
There we go. Ultimate short shifter. Ow!
And he comes and he loves cars too. He's got a Corvette now, which I'm really proud that he's got like a big boy car with a proper engine. It's pretty awesome. Momentous thing. Almost shed a little tear. And my oldest daughter, Kylie. And then there's Hayden. He just graduated high school and he's now working for me. And then my son, Jesse, that's 17 in high school. Rachel, my daughter that is in junior high. And then my youngest, Lily. So quite the range. And I love being a dad. And then of course my wife, Linda, been married for now 20 years. It's really kind of crazy. But family is pretty awesome. And without, you know, this is an automotive YouTube. And we've got all the cars. And you see a lot of car stuff, I mean, out there, you know. And everybody's focus is being the best, the fastest, the craziest, all of that. And I love all of this, obviously. But at the end of the day, none of this means crap without the family. Without somebody to come home to. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how cool of whatever you got. If you're coming home to nothing, it kind of sucks. So, so family is like what actually like makes life worthwhile. And at the end of the day, having the family makes all of this stuff better and kind of worth it, especially, you know, especially those times when I have some of my family that enjoy some of this out there with me. Whether it's working on the cars or going to events or doing things. And that's why a lot of times, if you do see me out there and you come to an event that I come to, a lot of times I'll have one of my kids with me or even my grandbaby or whatever. So definitely most important part of my life, even though there's a lot of time and money devoted to a lot of this stuff. It really does not mean anything without that side of life being good and being the highest priority.
How do I transition from that touching family speech?
Get back in there, chair.
You talking about family? Being around guys that were into cars and being around the racing scene, was that something that interests you? Were you working on cars at all?
Yeah, so there was pretty much never a time that I wasn't messing with cars. I always had some car that I was building or working on or racing or doing something with. I mean, my first car when I was 15, it was an 81 Z28 Camaro that was a total pile of crap, and that made it till I was about 16 when I finally had it and parted it out. And then the next car that I had got was a 85 GT Mustang, so a Fox body. Lots of iterations and cutting it apart and doing chassis stuff, and I built that all at my parents' house, and they didn't even have a garage, so I was like outside with tents on a gravel driveway and all of that. I mean, I could have only dreamed of having car lifts and like cement and like working on a car inside. That would have been amazing. But I had that Fox body. I pretty much worked so that I could take all that money that I earned and spend it either on my girlfriend or my car. I mean, I'm pretty much no different now than I was back then. That car started out with, ooh, I'm gonna put a turbo on a stock engine. And then it was like, I blow that engine up, and then now we're gonna do a built motor, and then a bigger transmission, and then a bigger rear end, and then it turns into a full-on drag car, and then we've got a parachute and slicks and a 101 millimeter turbo. And yes, lots of car stuff. I always had something cool, something fast.
And were you always doing all the work yourself?
Yeah, it was always me. I joke now, I'm just cheap at a higher level. I've always just done all the work myself. I've built my own engines, my own turbo systems. I always thought it'd be cool to be able to TIG weld, so I bought myself a TIG welder. And now, my truck and a lot of these different cars that we have with all the turbo stuff, it's all TIG welded, it's all by me. These oil coolers I just did on the front of the Corvette, all the aluminum brackets, all that, we TIG welded all of that. And I just learned how to do the stuff myself. So the majority of the work is just me, because frankly, I'm usually stretching the dollar to the absolute max to even just cover the parts, let alone trying to pay somebody else. So if I wanted it all, I pretty much have to save the money on the labor and try and figure it out and do it myself. I really love all kinds of this stuff. There's one theme that kind of stays consistent with me is I typically will make it unique to me, try and make it faster. Usually that ends badly because I start breaking crap. Also, if you see a theme, turbos. Turbos are kind of a theme, We've got turbos on everything, and that just makes it better. I love the turbos. And that started way back from that first Fox body that I have. But I love that diversity. I've never, and if these guys really love it, the guys that have, 20 Corvettes, and they get into one Corvette and they get into the next Corvette, and I don't see the purpose in having so many of the same thing. Like, I really love being able to go from one car to the next and it being a completely different driving experience, from the sound to the feel of the car. That's why it's so diverse. If I want an opportunity to drive something different, I want it to be something that's completely different, so it's not the same experience every time I get into that different vehicle. That's why I came up with Road Garage, is I like to just be a little bit different. And that's what car customizing and all of this and making it my own is like what that's about. It's about it just being my own. I don't need to be like so off the wall crazy.
vehicles. It's the machine. You get this full immersive experience between the exhaust, the power, the look, people's reaction to it. It's all of that is the thing that I love with cars. And that goes right into my car collection. I love the exotics, you know, I love the Lamborghini. I love, you know, the McLaren. At some point, maybe here in the near future, a Ferrari. I also love all the muscle car stuff. You know, I grew up with having lots of Mustangs, you know, so that's where the Celine came from. And the Corvette is kind of your in-between type of vehicle, but it has the rowdy V8, and then you add some turbo to it, and the thing sits at the light and it's shaking. There's something awesome with that. And then like my truck, rowdy as crap, big turbo, big blow off noise. You're in this big heavy thing that's just ripping, and you forget you're in something that's so heavy, and the 37-inch tires are just sitting there howling every time you jump on it and the turbo hits.
Gets up and moves pretty decent. Yeah.
You know, and then of course we've got our off-road stuff as well with the four-wheelers and the Can-Ams and all of that off-road stuff that we do too. So I guess I want to say I'm like not necessarily a one-trick pony here.
I think that works great for YouTube as well. You got a diverse car collection, everything kind of has its own look and feel. So what made you start YouTube?
So it's really quite odd, especially anybody that would have known me even 20 years ago. I am not the guy that's in front of the camera. And I'm not saying this because I think I'm like that good at it even now. I am a introvert. I'm not an extrovert. I'm not that guy that is the life of the party. Especially as a kid, I was so shy. So this was never a thing that like, oh yeah, one day I want to be that guy in front of the camera trying to do the dog and pony show and like entertain people. To be totally honest, YouTube, I barely even knew what it was when I moved out here in 2014. Until my son, Evan, was talking about one day, he's like, dude, I just saw this guy that I follow, Stradman. He was driving his purple Bugatti. I'm like, what? And I end up buying this Lamborghini. And I ended up meeting this kid out here. I took the Lamborghini to a wedding and ended up meeting a friend of James, of Stradman. One thing led to another, and that very next week, Stradman ended up coming over to my house to come see my new twin-turbo Lamborghini and see what that was about. At the end of the day, after kind of talking to him and seeing what he had going on, it inspired me to do YouTube myself. Looking back at everything that I had done and built when it came to cars, I was always really bad at like taking pictures, documenting anything. I mean, I have like almost nothing. And it's just such a huge part of my life and what I'm into. I thought, you know, this is already what I like doing. I come home every night and I'm working till like 10, 11 o'clock every night. Why don't we film it? Why don't we like document some of these builds that I'm doing, you know? At the very least, I have like a record of like all this cool stuff that I've built, you know, something I can pass down to my kids, my grandkids, whatever, and they can see what dad or grandpa was doing all these years and all this crazy stuff he was doing, you know? And at the end of the day, maybe this YouTube thing could like possibly go somewhere. I mean, crap, James, look at him. He's built quite the channel for himself and a career and a lifestyle and a whole life just off of making videos and entertaining people. So I guess a shout out to James being the inspiration to me to do this YouTube thing, and here we are. I mean, it's been a couple of years and we're still plugging away at it, doing our best. I'm gonna keep doing it. I hope at some point more and more people like to see it, and I'm doing some stuff that people like. Frankly, I would have quit a long time ago if it would have been for the money, because at this point, there has been no withdrawals for me at this point as far as YouTube goes. So, you know, if you want to throw a guy a bone out here and give me a sub and share it with somebody if you think what I'm doing is cool, I'd appreciate it. I love it.
So with this whole diverse car collection you got, do you have a favorite?
So my favorite out of everything, which I absolutely love everything in its own way. It's kind of like my kids, you love each one differently, right? But definitely my favorite, the one that is the most fun to drive, it just checks all the boxes, is the Lamborghini. My twin turbo Lamborghini Superleggera. Stupid fast, rowdy, just super fun. It's the OG as far as the culmination of achieving like that dream of my dream car, owning a Lamborghini, my first. I don't know, there's something special about that very first one you get. You go from never having something before to having it. So this is where like this car is never going anywhere, and even though it's a little high maintenance, which we've talked about in some of the other videos, and you have seen by me breaking it and constantly putting it back together. My poor V10, it's super cool. So we actually gotta kind of get rolling here. We've got a event. We're gonna go to a car show this evening, and I thought we could finish off some of the stuff we're talking about in the car, and we're gonna go over to a show and kind of tie things off there. So let's get out of here.
And we're live.
And just like that, we are back, baby. We are off to a car show. So out here in Utah, it's really pretty incredible where the car community has gone and grown. As a kid, and even in my early 20s, this place like just had almost nothing. It was a big deal to see like a Corvette, let alone the kind of stuff that we're seeing at these car shows. So we are going to, they call it Cars and Curry, because the guy that puts it on, his name's Manpreet, and he has a curry pizza place. He loves cars, and he has been putting this on for, geez, I think about a year and a half, and it's really grown and doing well. I mean, they kept it going even through winter with like freezing temps and all that, which is really wild.
Yeah.
And they had people like showing up. I'm like, nuts. So we're gonna go check out that, being that we actually have a car that runs, which is phenomenal. Part of the story I didn't tell before about the whole Lamborghini thing is when I was in LA while my company was doing really well before the whole crash, I was basically ready to pull the trigger on a Gallardo. It wasn't a twin turbo car or any of that, but it was a Gallardo, and I just didn't feel good about it and pull on the trigger. And it was good that I didn't, because about 6 months after that was when the whole economy and everything just took a big dump, and it ended up causing me to lose everything pretty much. I had to give up all my cars, my company went down the toilet, and it was a pretty rough period that we've already kind of talked about. So I did get really close to getting one. It was actually a silver 04 e-gear car. It had some cool wheels, exhaust, and some smoked out lights. It was actually at a dealer in Vegas. This kind of gives you an idea and perspective on price. So that stock, fairly stock Gallardo, I was going to be paying $142,000 back then for it. Finally getting this is like a dream come true, a huge personal and financial accomplishment for me to be able to actually be able to pull the trigger and make that happen. And I don't feel like I did anything overly special to get somewhere with all of this. I've had businesses, with my construction company. Yes, I started very early, but I've started and failed. I'm on like my fourth time, fourth time you know, I really struggled, you know, and that's some of that, you know, starting so young. But, you know, I've tried to learn every time, but I think I've been blessed with persistence and not giving up and all of that. But I feel like I'm somewhere not because I'm just that crazy smart or that much better or anything else than anybody else. I just have not given up, and I keep just kind of hitting it, you know, and try and learn from my mistakes and do better to the next time. And you do that long enough, you start to get somewhere. I mean, all of these cars and that I have, all of this stuff that I've accumulated, what I've done is I will buy one, and usually I'll have a loan on it, and then I pay the loan off, and when it's paid off, then that's my green light to go get something else. And at the end of the day, when you have things that are paid off, you have an asset. When the crap hits the fan, you're not just trying to get rid of a payment. You actually have something there that has value. Even if the value's gone down, you can get a chunk of cash, and that can help you in whatever your situation is with the market going bad. And then of course too, depending on what you get, I mean, there's guys that make a lot of money from buying the right cars and sitting on them, and then the market goes up. So yeah, it can even, you know, legitimately be a profitable investment if you do it right. I'm a lot better at buying stuff than selling. At some point, I think I'm going to have to be starting to be cycling some of these vehicles.
Well, you get different experiences and different build opportunities.
Yep. Well, and that's where the future of what we're trying to do. You know, we're taking a book out of some of these other guys that are doing YouTube. You know, Matt Armstrong and Tavarish. You know, I really look up to those guys and what they've done and accomplished, and doing, you know, some of our version of maybe a little bit of what they're doing with our own twist on it. Where we're building cars, we're going to be, you know, getting some of these cars that are wrecked and fixed to just straight up fix, and then turn around and sell, and we'll take you on that journey. But some of them, for example, maybe an Aventador. I need a V12 in my life, okay, guys? So, you know, there's cars out there that are my dream cars to add to be permanent cars, you know, doing some wild, fun stuff with it, and that being adding just another car to the channel and not just being a flip, you know, to make some money. But I'm excited to be able to be doing some of that. For my whole life, I've always done all of this stuff, and it was absolutely a consumer with zero opportunity to actually make any money back. You know, I've worked my butt off up on a roof or doing a remodel in people's houses so that I have money to dump, and for the most part end up throwing away into cars, at least as far as the money going away. I mean, I enjoy it, and that's why I do it. I don't, you know, I'm not doing it thinking I'm going to be making a bunch of money. But with YouTube and with kind of the direction we're trying to take it, you know, maybe I can make a couple of bucks back, and it can help feed the machine.
Yeah.
And make some dreams of some dream builds and some dream things that just absolutely would not be possible without you. Without you as the viewer, you know. Hopefully there's enough people out there that like seeing what I'm doing that we end up being able to get this thing to grow. You know? We'll see. Only time will tell. But either way, I'm not quitting. We'll just keep plugging away. Oh, baby.
Sounds like you're doing your right.
All right, so we're out here in Lehi, Utah at Cars and Curry. This is a Wednesday night. They have a weekly event and a bunch of cool stuff and going and hanging out with friends and chatting and catching up. So I'm out of here. We'll see you on the next one.